Over the last couple of videos, we have been showcasing some events that have been happening here in the state of Florida. One of the big ones is the upcoming governor's race. Now, to anyone with a rational mind, clearly the current governor's wife, Casey DeSantis, would be the ideal choice. Of course, we know that President Donald Trump has endorsed J6 hater, jab-loving Byron Donalds. So this is going to be one of those interesting moments to see if people in the state of Florida hold to the ideals of truth and personal accountability, or if they just fall in line like they did last night in the election right here in CD6, Congressional District 6, where I live. Now, what if I told you that I found 10 different ways that Trump supporters could be convinced to take a jab to rewrite their genetic code? I did. Last night proved it for me. Last night proved it. A man named Randy Fine was elected to take Mike Waltz's seat. And it proves something. The man that won was eminently unqualified for the job, but he won anyway, simply because Donald Trump told people he was. So when Donald Trump tells people that the new coming jabs are going to be wonderful for their futures, I personally believe that people are going to take it. Now, if you'd like to join us over at the Florida Maga Patreon channel, where we talk about maintaining a culture of truth and personal responsibility, love to have you over there. We got a brand spanking new video we just put up yesterday, and it's for the Need to Know Roundtable level and up. Prior to that, previous few weeks, we did 3 videos in a row for everyone, the McGee foot soldiers, all the way on up. Now we're going to start stepping up the content because it's going to apply to everyone, and it's going to showcase an idea that this channel has been talking about for a very, very long time. We'd love to have you over there. There's 4 levels, 2, 5, 10, and 15 a month. First of the month right now, best time to join. There's a pretty big discount we just offered for anyone signing up for an entire year. You get a pretty big chunk of money off, so love to have you over there. And once again, as always, go over there, sign up. You spent the money, okay, I'm going to check out these videos. Do it for 90 days, or 30 days, or a week, or 3 days. Doesn't matter. Anytime within 90 days, you decide it's not for you, full refund. No questions asked. Love to have you. God bless all of you who have. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. How many of you remember when we were talking about this Signalgate scandal recently as well? Well, this all ties in to something that I'm actually going to give Donald Trump some credit for here. I've been fairly critical of the man because I believe that we should hold all leaders to account, no matter who they are. And I think he actually did something that shows personal accountability. Now, right after this happened, and I've read virtually every article on this and gotten all the quotes, Donald Trump came out and said, after having had the initial meeting, after the scandal broke, those of you who don't know about the Signalgate scandal, it's about the chat where there was inadvertently added to the chat a reporter from the Atlantic who shouldn't have been there when they were discussing attack plans, the Houthi rebels, and all this kind of stuff. They weren't, of course, discussing war plans, playing a little semantics game there, but they were discussing attack plans. Donald Trump came out and said that Mike Waltz learned a lesson and nobody was going to be fired going forward. Now, I personally believe that Mike Waltz came in to Mr. Trump and said, "This is my fault, sir." See, Mike Waltz is a man of integrity. I, had an assistant who had access to this, and he put somebody in the chat that shouldn't have been there, and it was my job to know that it was there because he's my underling. Nobody else involved in the chat, from DNI Gabbard to the Secretary of State to the Vice President, nobody knew. It is my sword to fall on, sir, and I'll do that for you if you'd like. And he said, no, I'm not going to fire you. We're going to go forward, but you've learned the lesson. You see, that's the idea. That's the idea. Now, this is the guy. I kid you not. This is the guy that took Mike Waltz's seat last night in Congressional District 6. It had been empty when Trump, of course, took him away from that seat. This guy. Now, I'm not going to say anything, of course, because it's YouTube, but I think you can see that somebody here has a problem with personal accountability. Somebody here pictured has a problem with self-control. And this guy has had all sorts of problems in the past. He came from Brevard County, corruption charges, all sorts of different things. But simply because he was a parentheses R, he won our district. It's basically where I live here in Flagler County, Volusia County, St. Johns County, where the governor was from, just north of us, St. Augustine, Florida, Putnam County, that's where Palatka is, Lake County, that area is Congressional District 6. And be honest with you, this just does not represent our values in the least. It does not. But it shows you something, and it's scary. And it's why I've made the allegation I did about the Patreon channel, that if Trump can get people to vote for this guy, then he can get his supporters to do anything. You see, there's another story out now about this guy from Pawn Stars who's mourning the loss of his son. And I feel horrible about what happened to the guy's son. But he's blaming the fentanyl dealers. The fentanyl dealers didn't force the kid to go buy drugs and take drugs. It's not. Back in the 80s, we had a Just Say No campaign. Reagan had a Just Say No campaign. Basically, that put it on us as kids. And that's the other thing, too, I can't really talk about here on YouTube anymore. Teaching kids personal accountability. I was a teenager in the 1980s, and I remember, 13, 14, 15, hearing, Ronald or Nancy Reagan talk about, hey, it's on you. Just say no. Somebody offers you this, just say no. And it worked. Teaching kids that, hey, you go mess around with this stuff and you get in trouble and something bad happens, that's on you for not saying no. Also, how many of you knew, I've used this picture before and I'm going to use it again, this girl here in the middle, how many of you knew that she had been involved with prostitution before she ever met Ghislaine Maxwell? This girl who's gotten in the car accident and kidneys failure and 4 days to live or whatever, and, once again, needing to be the center of attention. How many of you knew that she had been charged and involved in prostitution long before she ever met Ghislaine Maxwell at Mar-a-Lago? Yeah, that's right. Her dad was working at Mar-a-Lago, and let's see if I can say this right. She was hired as a 14-year-old girl at Mar-a-Lago to be a spa attendant. 14-year-old girls, that's right, we're standing there throwing towels to all of Trump's buddies who were getting out of the pool or coming out of the sauna. And while she wasn't busy with that, she was reading a book. And this is from her own biography, by the way. I'm not making this up. You can read this up from her own biography. That she was reading a book on massage at 14 years old. At 14 years old, reading a book on massage as a spa attendant at Mar-a-Lago when Ghislaine Maxwell approached her. Personal accountability. How many of you saw the story about the guy in Augusta, Georgia, who had to go for a job interview, and he had taken his kids out for lunch and probably should have taken them back to the apartment where the 10-year-old could have babysat the 4-year-old and the 1-year-old, but he decided, you know what, it'll be funner for them to stay here at this play place where we just had lunch. It was walking distance to the job interview he had to go to, so he left his 10-year-old, 4-year-old, and 1-year-old, and somebody saw him leave, and they called the police, and the police were there. The guy was gone for less than 2 hours. Total walking distance there, the entire interview walking back, less than 2 hours. But by the time he got back, the police were there. He got arrested. The mother was called. The mother got the kids. No harm came to the kids. But once again, personal accountability. How many of you saw the interview with Jesse Waters, where RFK Jr. admitted, yes, I flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane twice. Jesse Waters didn't even know when he asked the question. It was more of a rhetorical question he was asking. You were never on Epstein's plane, right? And he's like, no, I flew on it twice. And Jesse Waters just sat there with his mouth open. Personal accountability. See, there's a lot of people out there now pushing this stuff called methylene blue based on the fact that RFK Jr. uses it. And this kind of ties into these things that people will just do. They'll just ingest any random thing, any random chemical, because somebody that they've been told is a good guy, said to. See, at this time, when this black and white photo was taken, Jeffrey Epstein was a good guy. He was a member of Trump's private club. He made the circles and the rounds with all sorts of people. He was a good guy at the time. He was a good guy to know. Because that's what people believed. How many of you also knew? This is kind of one of those videos. How many of you also knew? See this picture here of Donald Trump holding a Playboy that he had just signed at one of his rallies? See, that's him on the cover with this girl. How many of you knew this girl that posed on the cover with Donald Trump is a convicted drug trafficker? Did 10 years in prison for running drugs from Mexico to the United States. Look it up. The girl that posed on the cover of Playboy with Donald Trump way back then, convicted drug trafficker. You see, but when people actually come out and say, hey, there are tapes of Donald Trump with, and they were recorded by, well, you know who, people don't believe that. But they believe everything else. They'll believe, that can't possibly be. Yeah, one of the big arguments is, well, it would have come out by now. You're still asking for the Epstein files, right? See, Pam Bondi got hired, and then everybody jumped all over her for not releasing the Epstein files. And then Kash Patel got hired. And then everybody's like, oh, well, Kash Patel will do it. Kash Patel hasn't done it. And now Dan Bongino has gotten hired. Oh, he'll for sure. Isn't it interesting that all these people, when they actually take a look at the Epstein files, are like, hell no. Hell no, we're not releasing that. Personal accountability. There was a while back, some of you might remember, I made a video where I said I was very impressed with the First Lady because she released her memoirs and she talked about her time doing nude modeling, and she owned it. And she owned it and said, you look, well, I don't regret it. It was a great time in my life. I believe it was artistic and it was what I wanted to do at the time. She didn't make herself out to be some victim of this or victim of that or victim of some other thing. You know, the day that she put on this dress and went out with her husband and she knew how it looked, you are free to make whatever choice you want, but you're not free from the consequences of those choices. Life is a result of the choices you make. If you don't like your life, time to start making better choices. You see, that's the key there for me. See, this is life choices. This is life choices. The only choice that seemed to matter was this guy said that he was friends and buddies and pals with Donald Trump. See these, I guess not 21s that were part of what happened in October of, what year was it, 23? I guess it would have been October of 23 in Israel. You see, a lot of them aren't here anymore. And a lot of them are, never made it to 21 because of life choices that they were accountable for. And here's where we have to probably end the video and jump over to Patreon. You see, when it was this guy, I think this is Klaus Schwab, talking about vaccines and implanted chips and robots taking over everything, digital money, the MAGAs were like, never. We're never going to have the Klaus Schwab world. Never. But now that it's Donald Trump and Elon Musk talking about their wonderful, super fantastic vaccines and brain chips that will program out Christianity and robots that will take virtually every job imaginable and their digital money, now, all of a sudden, these guys are heroes. No, that nobody wants personal accountability anymore. Nobody wants personal accountability anymore. AI is now ready to rewrite your genetic code in a way that'll make your life, pay attention, MAGAs, better because of what it might do to those around you. Let me give you a little sneak peek into what we're going to be talking about over Patreon. What if you were able to get a jab, and you were able to get a jab that gave you the ability to read the markets in a way that allowed you to maximize your Bitcoin holdings or whatever cryptocurrency that you prefer in a way that you could see trends and know when to short and know when to hold long and to make more money. If they had a way that they could just manipulate your genetic code a little bit, because there are some people out there who are better at this than others. Just they have a God-given gift. You see, and there's the key. I probably gave away too much information there, that you could manipulate yourself this way. Maybe I'll give you another quick hint. What if there was a way you could rewrite your genetic code so that all of a sudden your body started to burn fat way more efficiently? And all of a sudden your skin started to be less wrinkly, more smooth and supple. And all of a sudden you found yourself being able to breathe better, and you felt better, and you lost weight, and all of a sudden you could go for runs, and you could start to reverse the aging process. I think to both men and women, that might be a reason, especially if Donald Trump told you to do it. Especially if Donald Trump and Elon Musk told you to do it. Yeah, because of look at how much better it's going to be, but that's too many hints. That's the first 2 of the 10. I found 10 things out there that I know for a fact that if Donald Trump said it was good, the MAGAs would line up around the block to get jabbed. Because you should see now how methylene blue is just blowing off the shelves just because RFK Jr. put it in his drink on a video. You should see how much money they're making off this scam. Better for your kidneys and no brain fog and all this kind of stuff and nonsense. So, once again, this is going to be a test for the people of the state of Florida, whether they're going to choose the right choice, the very clear choice. How many of you knew that a program called Hope Florida that was spearheaded by Casey DeSantis has saved $100 million in the state of Florida? Because it's taken so many people off of the welfare rolls and put them in touch with private charitable organizations and put them back to work and off of welfare, that the state of Florida has saved $100 million just in the last 2 years alone. That's how much money has been saved, and she's not even an elected official. I'd like to see Byron Donalds say that he's done something in Washington, D.C. that is the equivalent. He can't. She's clearly the best choice. I'm just not going to vote for a guy that was, ready to, he was very anti-J6er and very, very, very pro-jab. Even after the governor said, wait a minute, stop, hold on with the jab. In fact, how many of you knew that? That we've banned mRNA in Florida. How many of you knew that? That Governor DeSantis has banned mRNA research, any type of looking into it, any type of involvement with it or use of it is banned now in the state of Florida. Byron Donalds won't tell you that. So I will leave it there. But once again, you want to see the other 8 things? You want to see the other 8 things that Trump supporters will definitely line up around the block to get jabbed for? Join us. I'd love to have you over there. It's going to be the next video. We're going to have it up in the next probably 24 to 48 hours. So, like I said, I'd love to have you over there. Everybody who signed up, like I said, brand new. There's a brand new video just yesterday for the Need to Know Roundtable. That's the $5 level and up. I think folks will definitely want to get involved in that for sure. So God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.